Bonnie made a friend in class.
Oh, she's already making friends.
No, she literally made a new friend. I want you to meet Forky.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
On paper, Toy Story 4 seemed like a terrible idea. After the sublime send-off that the third film gave Woody, Buzz, and the rest of the gang, the thought of revisiting the franchise almost a decade later felt like a cynical cash grab, one that risked tarnishing the legacy of a practically perfect trilogy. And yet, despite the odds, Toy Story 4 is every bit as magical as its predecessors. It feels miraculous that Pixar could have navigated such a narrative minefield again after the cathartic closure of Toy Story 3. But the fourth film is full of the same joy, wonder, and whimsy that we've come to expect from every Toy Story installment. It's also the funniest film in the franchise, thanks to new characters like Keanu Reeves' motorcycle stuntman Duke Kaboom and Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele's snarky stuffed toys Ducky and Bunny. But the most hilarious moments of Toy Story 4 come courtesy of Tony Hale's Forky, a neurotic spork who has somehow come alive after being created by Bonnie in kindergarten. Watching Forky freak out about his unlikely existence is delightful, but there's also something heartbreaking about a character who's convinced that he's worthless, despite how much he's loved by others. Yes, there's also a fairly good chance Toy Story 4 will make you cry.
We need to get back to our kid.
Aw, Sheriff Woody, always coming to the rescue.
While the last movie saw our heroes coming to terms with their own mortality, Toy Story 4 aims for something just as deep: self-actualization. After years of existing just for the enjoyment of their owners, we start to see what happens when our heroes begin considering their true purpose and trying to break out of the roles they've been given. If the first three films explored the pains of growing up and growing apart, Toy Story 4 tries to see things from a more adult point of view. Woody has always been a father figure for the other toys, and arguably to Andy too, and here he's a typical empty nester. Andy has gone off to college, but his faithful toy is struggling to move on. The lonesome cowboy is still focused on making sure his new kid feels happy and supportive, but Forky's arrival sparks a journey that's both geographical and emotional for Woody and Buzz. With Woody, that comes courtesy of his lost love Bo Peep, who unexpectedly crosses his path while he's on the hunt for Forky. Bo has been on her own for a while and seems to have thrived, but her independence forces Woody to confront his fear about becoming a lost toy, which has been a driving force for him since the first movie. Meanwhile, Buzz has become complacent in his new routine, and when Woody goes missing again, he's forced to step up and take charge, but finds himself doubting his own instincts. It's a bit of a regression for him after the way he leapt into action to rescue Woody in Toy Story 2, but it's also a welcome change of pace to see the confident Space Ranger wrestling with his own insecurities about being a leader. If Toy Story 4 has one shortcoming, especially if this really is the final chapter, it's that the plot spends far more time with the new characters than the rest of the original gang. Toy Story 3 did such a great job involving Jesse, Slinky Dog, Rex Ham, and the Potato Heads in the action, you can't help but miss them here, even if the new additions are every bit as charming as the old guard. Obviously, the creative team was trying to avoid hitting the same beats as the last movie, but it makes for a very different tone, one that focuses less on the family dynamic and more on Woody and Buzz's bond.
Buzz, we gotta get Forky.
Roger that.
Still, it works, because the previous films have laid such a strong foundation for this makeshift family, which means that we can feel the love and loyalty that's driving our heroes to find their way back to each other. And by introducing toys who have lived outside the safety of a kid's room, we get to see new aspects of Woody and Buzz, which is pretty thrilling after spending 25 years with these characters. There's a subtle weariness in Tom Hanks' performance here that speaks to everything Woody has been through over the decades, a sign that this old gunslinger has seen and lost too much. Despite being the second longest entry in the franchise at 100 minutes, Toy Story 4 is a zippy and well-paced ride that never drags or stumbles even when it's throwing us curveballs. It may not have the same level of secrecy surrounding it that Avengers Endgame did, but this is still a movie that you should try to see before it gets spoiled for you, especially if you've come to love these characters as much as Andy did. The Toy Story series has always been just as satisfying for adults as for kids, but this might be the first film that actually feels more relatable to the grown-ups, offering a surprisingly nuanced tale of coping with change and moving on after loss. While Toy Story 3 felt like the perfect ending for these characters, Toy Story 4 offers an unexpected epilogue that's just as meaningful as the films that came before it. It may not have been necessary, but somehow it still feels right. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Dark Phoenix and Godzilla King of the Monsters. And as always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.